So you just got off of a week of practicing every day. You're studying your video, you look at the video and you realize, oh, I don't know, or I'm forgetting these moves, or I don't remember all the things that I have to do. This is, in my experience, this is not a problem that goes away when you have more moves. In fact, it gets harder to track all the moves you have because you have so many of them, which is why I call it the use it or lose it list. If you haven't completed your use it or lose it list, for whatever reason, because you're human, what I recommend that you do is go into practice with an intention and pick, 1, 2, 3, 5 moves or combinations that you have an intention to try and work into your flow. Because it's impossible to try and remember, like if you're following the 3-second rule where you're changing at most the movement every 3 seconds, then to get through a 3 or 4 minute track, that's a lot of moves to remember. And the average person only remembers 5 to 9 things. So in their short-term memory. So if you pick 3 to 5 moves that you want to or intend to put into your flow, and you keep them top of mind at the beginning of the set, or however many practices you're doing that day, and then you change the moves the next day, what ends up happening in my experience is over time, the things that you had as ideas that you wanted to incorporate become more readily available in your flow, and you figure out different ways to flow into them. And they suddenly, like, you probably don't think about doing a weave. You probably fall back on things like weaves and pinwheels and corkscrews and hip rails, right? Those are and maybe butterflies. But anything beyond that, because you've been doing those for so long and they're such core moves, what you have to start doing is putting the intention to connect it together. And then what you could do is, instead of sitting down, because it could be a real chore to try and think about every single move that you might possibly know and make a list of it. What you could do is, after your practice, make note of what was new and put that on your list and just add it to the list. And that might help you both improve the list and incorporate more patterns into flow that you haven't done. So even like last week, we did that cool combination with the corkscrew, the together time corkscrew into the thread the needle over the head. Maybe instead of just a move, you can also have your combos be top of mind, and then you can incorporate the combos into the flow, and then you can write the combos on the list as well. Because if you thought about that as the moves, there's the together time corkscrew itself, and then there's the over the head thread the needle, and then there's all the turning that you're doing, and then there's the tap backs in the middle. And you could think of those each as separate moves, but it's a lot more work to think about them as separate moves as opposed to combinations. So it can even be more helpful if going into the practice, you're thinking about combos that you want to incorporate as opposed to just singular moves, because then you're incorporating, it's the whole reason why we do these micro combos and infinite combos in the first place, right? So that you can be incorporating off in both directions and be thinking about it less in terms of each of the discrete things, which is a shorter period of time, but you can think about it in terms of the longer chunk of time that it actually takes up, which can help in the process of being in your flow, because you don't have to think so much about what the next thing is, because the next thing comes 3 seconds later as opposed to half a second later. So that might be a helpful trick to help you get more connected to what to do next and incorporate it into your practice. And then if you're trying to also incorporate more dance expression into it, what you can do is have practices where, or even in the middle of a song, like I'll do this where I'm practicing and then I'll mess something up or it doesn't go the way I want it to. And then I'll just take a chunk of the song and I'll just rehearse that one thing, practice that one thing repeatedly, so that I might practice the stylization of it more than the flow into or out of it. And that way I can focus on, what would it be like if I do this on one leg? What would this be like if I'm bending down? What would this be like if I'm expanded in the arms? What would this be like if I do asymmetric extensions or things like that? And that way you can start adding not just the movement, but the expression and the dance element associated with the movement, whether it's a move singular or a series of moves in a combo. And that might be a helpful technique for you to have more dance expression as well as a more diverse repertoire. And then, of course, when you're making your use it or lose it list, you can make note of the variations that you used that you found particularly helpful. And it could be helpful because they're good transitions. For example, I think most of the extensions can be helpful from the perspective of giving you more time to get to the next thing. So even if you're just doing a weave with a single extension, that extra extension can give you more time and it can give you more space to get into the next pattern. So I think that could be just generally helpful, but you may have a specific one. Oh, it's really helpful when I do the extension on the underhand weave with the left hand for whatever reason. I mean, I don't know what, I'm just giving an example, but that might be a helpful thing to also note in your use it or lose it list.